Welcome to the Passionpreneur Experience, where I examine the thoughts, energy, and strategy a side hustler needs to grow their entrepreneurial dreams, all while they work their corporate 9-to-5 day job. I'm your host, Bridget Cobb. Now let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Passionpreneur Experience. And holy moly, can you believe it? It is the last week of the year. Super excited. I can't believe how fast this year went. And I'm pumped that I was able to get this podcast out before January. That was my big goal, and I launched December 5th. So this is a really exciting time for me. I'm glad you guys are with me. Let's get into today's topic. Today I wanted to talk about fighting what I call good intentionitis with 3 key filters that I use to make sure that I'm staying focused. What do I mean by good intentionitis? Well, I know that when I start a project or I've got a big idea that I want to run with, I get very excited, overly excited, and filled with good intentions. I want to do everything right. I want to do everything right now. Everything's priority, and I just get overwhelmed. I can reflect back to the time I made the decision I was going to run a half marathon. It had always been on my bucket list. I always had wanted to accomplish the half, and so I thought, okay, I'll put a plan together. And that started with a very simple 12-week running plan, which I found online, very easy. Typed in, give me a good running plan for someone who's an intermediate runner, and up it came. No problem. Had that locked down. I put it all in the calendar. But as the weeks went on, I thought, I hadn't really paid attention to nutrition, and maybe I need to look into stretching a bit more. And so by the time I was done, it was not just a 12-week running plan. It was a nutrition regime, cross-training yoga camp, intermittent fasting Pilates program that was about 40 hours a week without rest days. And I just got over excited. And all those things will very nicely contribute to a good running plan, doing all of them at once actually caused me to get burned out and thought, I don't know if I can actually do this. Really, the end goal was running the half marathon. All that other stuff I put in became barriers. They weren't helping me. They were hindering me. So I do that. I understand that I get overly excited. I am also prone to listening to what other people are doing. So I might have had my 12-week running plan, but then I meet somebody else that's training for the half, and they say, well, you know what is really helpful? If you do this. This is what I'm doing. And I think, oh, I like that. I could do that. So I take it on without altering what I had already planned. So what I'm really just doing is adding on more and more activities, more features to my plan that ultimately end up being a burden. So while it's a very comprehensive plan, I basically have no time to sleep or eat or do anything else other than this plan. And I have to ask myself, is that really going to get me to my goal? So it's not ideal, and that's why I kind of think about this case of good intentionitis. Do you ever feel that you are overwhelmed by the plan that you have built for yourself and your big goal? And if so, I encourage you to take a pause and examine each element of the plan you have made through these 3 very simple filters. I'm going to go through them one at a time. The first filter is value. So the first question you're going to ask yourself with each individual task, not the plan as a whole, you're going to break it down into each element in that plan. Is this truly goal critical? That particular element, is it goal critical? If it's goal critical, what specific value does it bring me and my ability to commit to this goal? So that particular task that you've got on, what is that bringing you specifically, either to your performance, your mindset, your strategy, what it specifically is it providing for you? And I want you to do that for each and every task. The next thing I want you to do is critical in the value filter, and that is to now prioritize those items. And this might be a little bit trickier than you think, because as you lay out the value and that each of those elements bring, you're likely going to identify true value there. And they may seem mission critical, each and every one of those elements. The next hurdle for you to cross here is to prioritize them. And you must prioritize each in its individual category. So nothing can be equally leveled. And that's a challenge that you need to bring and commit to. So as you're laying, you might have 7 or 8 different elements to your strategy that you've built. And you might want to sit there and say, well, these are all equally important. Every single one of them are exactly the same level of importance. And guys, that's a little bit of a cop-out. So you need to dig a little bit deeper there and really start to question each one. And then I want you to label them from most important to least. And if you want to do it numerically, that's always easy. So if there's 8 items, you're going to label 1 as the very most important and 8 as the least important. And that might mean they're just a smidgen of difference between importance levels. They don't have to be huge. So when I say 8 is the least important, it might be on paper, but you know it's still important. Okay, so it doesn't devalue what you've put in the plan, because all of those elements, no doubt, really contribute. The question is, do they all need to contribute at the same time? And that's what we're going to get to in the next filter. So your first step, again, is value. I want you to write out all the different elements within your plan. I want you to identify the specific value that that element brings to your plan. And then I want you to prioritize all of those elements in order of most important to you and least important to you, numerically, 1 through however many elements you have. The next thing I want you to look at, and the next filter that you're going to put your strategy through, is timing. So looking at the timing of each element individually. And here's some questions that you can start to run through. And especially now that you've already prioritized the value in which each of these elements bring, you can start to ask some of these questions. So question number 1, is the timing of each item necessary? As in, is it necessary that I do all of these elements right now? Second question, what can be delayed or the intensity or time commitment reduced? All right, so do I need to do all of these right now? Can I delay or stagger some of them? Or can I even just reduce the intensity or time commitment that I've allocated to each of these? And then how does this current timing affect my ability to stick to the plan, and is that serving me? So have a good look across those elements and start to understand and acknowledge, is this actually helping? I know that hypothetically it could help me get to my goal. Is it actually helping me get to my goal? Or is it just causing stress, overwhelm, denial, all of those feelings that come when we are just buried? All right, so start to lay that out. You might notice a pattern as you've labeled those in order of priority or importance, those elements. You might realize, you know what, it is that bottom half of tasks that I just avoid doing. And because I'm overwhelmed, and when I avoid doing them, I start to feel like I'm failing. And that makes me feel like the whole process is failing. All right, so start to question those tasks and say, I know you're important and I acknowledge you're important element, task, whatever you are, but do I need to be doing you right now, or could I stagger that out a little bit? How does that look against the time I have allocated to my business? And remember, this is so important because during all of this, you're working your 9 to 5. So you're out there working a 9-to-5 day job, and then you're coming back to your side hustle strategy and trying to work that in, around, in between, in front of, behind your day job. All right? So each element, be really critical about it. Be really demanding that it presents its value, or that you can recognize its value, and that you recognize the timing and how important it is to do that element right now. The last filter that I want to run you through is the multitasking myth. All right, so I want you to ask yourself, can I half-ass this effort? Because that might be what I'm doing right now. Or does this require my full ass? All right, so can I half-ass it, or do I need my full attention here to really make this thing value, or this task valuable to me? In other words, is it helping or hurting your effort when you try to absorb, learn, or implement all of these things at the same time? Or do some of these tasks actually require the majority or all of my attention for me to really get the value out of them? Right? And then I want you to also look at, what are all the consequences, good and bad, of overlapping these tasks? And that last question, all important, is it serving me? So when I overlap these tasks like I have, when I bring in all these elements at the same time, is it ultimately serving me? Because if it isn't serving me, it's time for you to shake it up and have a look at what is really going to serve you and push you forward, rather than overwhelm you. So in doing this exercise, what you're really doing is you're honoring your why for this goal. And you're applying it to all the items in your plan. Does it all have to be done? Does it all have to be done right now? These ultimately are the questions that are going to help you define a strategy and a plan that is going to work for you, it's going to serve you, and it's going to get you to your goals. So let's just go through that again. Number one, what value does each element of your plan bring to you and your goal? And in order of importance, number out those goals, all those elements. Put them in a priority. And remember, you cannot share levels of importance. You must rank them in order, with no even trades. These are equally important. All right, really challenge yourself to do that, because that's going to make you really, truly pull the value out of each item, and not just coast and say, I think they're all equally important. You haven't really done the work if everything is on an equal level. So challenge yourself to go back and really pace those out and make them earn their spot in your plan. Timing is absolutely everything necessary to do right now. Can I delay? Can I push in waves? Is everything in the plan serving me when I do it all at the same time? All right, and then challenge yourself with that multitasking myth. Is it really helping me, or is it hurting me when I try to do all of these things at once? And once you put that against the work that you've done for value and the work you've done for timing, it might become very clear to you what you can move, shuffle, change in your plan, so that what you're left with is truly going to drive value for your customers. It's going to help you hit your goals, and ultimately that's going to build more success in your business. So when I go back to my marathon, my half marathon, which, by the way, I did run the half marathon. That was the Sydney Morning Herald half marathon. I think it was 2015. Like I said, I started with that 12-week running plan. It escalated to some crazy ass plan that was not achievable, because I was working a full-time job and had hobbies and interests and a life. And what I ended up doing was this very model where I ran through absolutely everything that I had put into the plan and realized what was really going to get me to my goal was running. That was the most important part. That was going to get me there. And so I made a pledge to myself to really focus and always prioritize the run. And that had been, 3-4 times a week I was going for a run of various lengths, sometimes long, sometimes short. But I would never let any other task in the plan supersede or knock that run out of order. So that allowed me to streamline greatly and say, look, I think I'll take some of these portions out, because all it does is it tires me out, it stresses me out, it takes away from the mental energy or stamina that I need to go for the run, and I will prioritize that task. And let me tell you, I am so glad that I did, because not only was I very prepared for the half marathon, I ran the entire thing, which was my goal. I didn't want to walk any of the track, any of the route, and I felt great. I had a fantastic time, and I'll tell you what, I ran totally by accident another half marathon the very next weekend, just because I wanted to keep up the good work that I had done, and I ended up going for a run on my own from Sydney to Manly, if you're familiar with Australia, and I ran all the way there, and it was just about a half marathon. So I felt like I did the best. That plan served me, and it got me to my goal. It was very simple. It didn't need to be complicated. And even though I was talking to all these other people that had other elements in their plan, I knew that those elements weren't going to serve me in the way I needed it. So I highly encourage you to do this for your business today. Run through, make sure you build that comprehensive list of everything you've got going. So maybe you are building, you've got a podcast, you're building courses maybe, or you're redesigning your product. You are doing networking events. You are writing a blog. You are designing a new website and working on marketing materials. You're going to lay all of those elements out, and then you are going to rank them. And you're going to get really clear on the value that each and every one of those are providing for you and your business. All right. After that, you're going to take a look at the timing of them all. Are they all absolutely 100% necessary to do right now and in the order or the intensity that you are currently carrying them? And look, you might run through this exercise and say, I feel well balanced. I can maintain all of this. And then maybe you decide, I'll use this when I bring a new task on. And I'm going to make it fight against all these other tasks and say, I limit myself at this. This is what I do for my business. And if I find a new task or a new strategy, it's going to have to weigh up against everything I'm doing now and earn its spot in place. And that kind of keeps you from just ad infinitum adding new tasks and elements to your strategy. Sometimes the most streamlined and conscious plan with a very targeted plan of attack is the most effective way to reach your audience and to present your message. So that's all the time I have for you today. I want to wish you a very happy New Year. I hope that you have something fun planned for New Year's Eve. And I'm really excited to go into this new decade, this new year, 2020. It sounds so futuristic, but to come into the new year with you guys as we build our businesses and grow as entrepreneurs together. I want to thank you again for joining me on the Passionpreneur Experience, and I will see you back here in 2020. Are you building your side hustle business all on your own? Well, you don't have to. Engaging with and being accountable to a supportive community will increase your productivity and keep you on track. Join my private Facebook community, the Passionpreneur Experience, and connect with like-minded side hustlers just like you. Head to the show notes now for a link to the group and start building the business of your dreams.